Hi everyone, intern here, unscripted at night. So forgive me if you hear crickets chirping, but this is an unscripted I've actually been meaning to get off my chest for a while, you know? And it regards one Nico Hulkenberg. Yes, Nico Hulkenberg announced that he will be signing with Sauber. So he's pretty much signed with Audi. It's a multi-year deal. And I feel like for the most part, people are okay with the move. They see the value in Hulkenberg. However, there's still that select few. That doubt Hulkenberg, that don't see much in Hulkenberg as a driver, that think he's not that good. And it's one thing if you don't think Hulkenberg is that good. I would disagree, but fair enough. But here's where I get upset. When people in big 2024 still use the he's never scored a podium excuse, it just tends to make my head a wee bit hot. You know? I genuinely find the he's never scored a podium excuse as to why Hulkenberg isn't good as one of the laziest excuses on F1 Twitter or in F1 discussion circles in general. Because let's take a look at just what he's done so far at Haas. Yes, he had that great Australian Grand Prix last year, a race he should have gotten a podium in had Gasly not taken out Ocon. You have Austria Sprint, where he was literally contending for a podium until the Haas remembered it was a Haas and he couldn't keep up. You have Canada qualifying last year, where he put a car that finished dead last in the constructors P2 before, they realized that he had set the lap after a yellow flag had come out. But the bottom line is he quite literally did a lap good enough for P2 in the wet. And if we look this year, Hulkenberg has done quite well. He's scored points on multiple occasions, and he's been pretty much the team leader for Haas. He's completely outdone Magnussen this year. Yes? And it just puzzles me how people can see all of that. And not just that, but Hulkenberg, his whole career in general, it puzzles me how anyone that could watch Hulkenberg's entire career could come to the conclusion that he's a bad driver because he hasn't scored a podium yet. It just doesn't make much sense to me, Because don't get me wrong, I know while he was at Force India, there were many instances where he could have gotten a podium and it just didn't work out. But that's just one result. What I don't understand with the podium excuse is that I think to myself, if he did score a podium, if you look back at all the podiums he missed out on, if he had scored just one of them, am I supposed to believe that you'd have just looked at everything Hulkenberg has done in his career and immediately rate it higher for the sole reason that he scored that podium? It doesn't make any sense to me. You're telling me if Hulkenberg got a podium in, let's say, Brazil 2012, let's say he came third that day, you're telling me you'd have looked at, and his career pans out the same way, right? You're telling me his career would have automatically been good. You'd have looked at it more favorably because he scored one podium in his 100+ starts of F1. I find that to be very dishonest, and I don't think people are being very honest when it comes to Hulkenberg. I feel like there are a lot of people that didn't really pay enough attention to Hulkenberg, and so when they're asked to evaluate him as a driver, they just go for something that they know, and they know that he's never scored a podium, so they just use that as an excuse to say he's not good, even though there's no context to it. Yeah? Look at all the cars Hulkenberg has driven. 2019 Renault, Ricciardo didn't score a podium in that car. Nobody holds that against Ricciardo, but Hulkenberg didn't score a podium, so he's trash. Same thing with 2018, same thing with 2017. Yeah? Perez scored podiums in the 2016 Force India. Does that mean Hulkenberg is garbage? No. Perez scored a podium in 2015 in the Force India. And it wasn't on pure paces because he was in fifth and the two guys in third and fourth took each other out. Does that make Hulkenberg bad? Does that mean Hulkenberg's a bad driver? 2014 Bahrain. He's come fourth a couple times. You know what I'm saying? He fought for the win in the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. Didn't work out. It was the first time he ever fought for a win in his whole career. I just don't think it is honest. I don't think anyone that objectively looks at how Hulkenberg drives right now could ever come to the conclusion that he's holding up a seat or he's a waste of a seat. Hulkenberg is a very good driver, and there has never been a point in his career where he has driven at a level where you could look at him and say, this guy doesn't still need to be here. Never. There's not one period in Hulkenberg's career where you can look at him and say he underperformed. He's not driving at the caliber that you'd want from the 20, in quotes, the 20 best drivers in the world. Not even 2019, which was almost his last season in the sport. Yes? 2020, he came back on short notice on 2 occasions, and he scored points on both occasions. Qualified third, mind you. 2020 Eiffel Grand Prix, he went from what? Last to points at the Nürburgring. Comes back in 2023. Yeah, we don't see Hulkenberg again. He came back 2022 because Vettel had COVID. But he didn't really test the Aston that much, and even then, still did a decent job. Came back for Haas in 2023. He's easily a better qualifier than Magnussen. Yes, he may have only scored points in that one Grand Prix last year, but in terms of his performances, it feels that there were some higher highs for Hulkenberg than there's been for Magnussen. And as a Magnussen fan, it's been hard to admit, but it's the truth. Hulkenberg, especially this year, out driving Kevin, especially in quali. Magnussen can't touch Hulkenberg in quali. Hulkenberg is one of the best qualifiers in the sport. I think Hulkenberg's only been out qualified by a teammate 3 times in his whole career. That's insane. You know, Hulkenberg's been here since 2010. He's only been out qualified by a teammate over a season 3 times. Nico Hulkenberg, even at his age, is still worthy of a top seat. We talk about how great guys like Alonso and Hamilton are for their age. Hulkenberg deserves the same gassing, man. Hulkenberg has never driven at a level where he didn't deserve to be in F1. And he's not driving at that level now. He's still driving like a guy that deserves a bite at the cherry at the top. And I do hope that Audi build him a car that's good enough so he can get that podium. Because honestly, it seems as though unless he gets the podium, he won't be rated. It seems as though one podium is just going to make everyone look at Hulkenberg's already good results throughout his career and just say, you know what, maybe this guy's alright. And it shouldn't take a podium for people to realize Hulkenberg's that good, but that's how Formula 1 fans are in 2024. Stat worshippers that do not watch the races, do not use the eye test to evaluate drivers. They just look at where you finished and they determine whether you're good or not. And that's not good, man. It's not honest. It's not honest. It is 2024. If you are still using the he's never scored a podium excuse, please cease and desist. Yes? That's all I have to say. Intern out.